Hey everybody, hey geeks. Welcome to season 2, episode 1 of Geek.0. I'm Chris.
And I'm Shawn Michael.
We're coming to you live from somewhere in the Ozarks in Missouri via Skype, where we are returning after an extremely long layoff. In fact, I just checked, and the last time we did one of these was when we reviewed Age of Ultron. So good job, us. Way to stay committed. Uh, we were all over it with all the great geek stuff that has happened in the last, I don't know, 8 or 9 months or however long it's been. 9
Yes.
months, I think, because Age of Ultron came out in July, so it's been almost 9 months since we've done one of these.
Flake
Uh,
sauce.
so good job, us. Uh, but our plan is to start recording these once a week and have them ready for you every Monday, sometime during the day, all depending on how long rendering goes and all that. So, and then we're also hoping to get these back up in audio format so you can listen to them on your favorite podcast player
Absolutely.
uh, over your phone, because we know sometimes it's kind of hard to commit time to sit down and watch a video on YouTube. So with that being said, Sean, what have you been up to for the last 9 months?
Stuff. Been busy. Busy, geeking out, watching some great stuff,
Yeah,
and just, living the dream.
living the dream. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I know something that we both did that we did just last week was we both had an additional viewing of Deadpool,
Yes, indeed.
which, buddy, I can't honestly remember the last time I went and saw a movie twice in the theater. Um, so to say that Deadpool was a revelation is honestly almost selling it short. So obviously, what we're going to talk about today, folks, we're going to talk about Deadpool. I know we're a few weeks behind the curve here, but we loved it so much we have to talk about it. And then after that, we're going to talk about the awesome thing that dropped today, and that's going to be our reaction to the Captain America Civil War
Civil
trailer
War
featuring
trailer.
your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Nice
Yes.
little shot there at the end of Spider-Man, and we'll talk about that because there's been a little bit of mixed reaction to Spider-Man online. But first, we'll dig into the Merc with the Mouth. We'll dig into a little bit of Wade Wilson. Sean, what did you think of Deadpool?
Oh, man. Deadpool absolutely blew my expectations away, and that's really saying a lot. I loved the atrocious movie X-Men Origins Wolverine that got trashed because of the online leak and everything else beforehand. So they didn't even properly finish it when it hit. They did do the theatrical release. The movie was crap, but Ryan
Oh
Reynolds
yeah,
as Deadpool in that movie was
as
fantastic.
Ryan Reynolds as Wade Wilson
Ed Wade Wilson.
in the movie was
Okay. So
fantastic.
as Wade Wilson, all the
Before
way
they
up
sewed his mouth
until the
shut,
weird mouth sewn shut
laser eyes, Bar-
grotesqueness
Baraka
thing.
arms from frickin' Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
I mean,
So
ugh,
the Ryan
oof.
Reynolds portion of it, the Wade Wilson portion was
It's perfect.
fantastic, and it
It
was
was pitch
just a
perfect. It was spot on.
yeah. I was just gonna say it's a perfect representation of what Ryan Reynolds brings to the character. So I had huge expectations for how awesome it was going to be, and you and I've talked about this about how in my opinion, the role was almost written for Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah,
It's
his
so
his
perfect.
sarcastics. Yeah. Oh,
Yes,
it's perfect for
his
it.
wit, his delivery, his timing, just everything was so spot on. But I really think, as a whole, the movie was extremely well done as a representation of what Deadpool is and who he is as a character. I
Right.
will take a little bit from a few movie snobs that we've heard talk about it, and I
Yeah.
will say that they did leave some of the darker side out of the actual character, some of the
Yeah, they did.
insanity. But I think that was necessary for this first movie, and I think that's
You know
because
what? I completely agree.
you don't
I
want to
completely
alienate
agree.
your audience. I think what you want to do is draw them in with the snarky wit, the
Hmm.
comebacks, the one-liners, and just the taking a precious joy in who he is as a character. Does it make sense? He's
Yeah,
freaking
absolutely.
fun. He's crazy. He's beyond crazy, okay?
Hmm.
He's nuts, but he revels in it, and he loves
Yeah,
that. And
you can tell in this first one here, he's just having a good time. He's a crack up, and that's what
yes,
it is.
and he's
And
incredibly self-effacing, which is one of my favorite
oh
aspects of
yeah,
him.
oh yeah,
Because so many
and
superhero movies take themselves way too seriously. Man of
Man of
Steel.
Steel.
Yes. So, like, I love you, Zack Snyder, but if you're a Zack Snyder movie, you take everything
Yeah,
about yourself so
yeah,
seriously. So, Deadpool was a refreshing,
yeah.
escape.
Even the color palette is serious. You're not allowed to have bright colors in a Zack Snyder movie. It all has to be slightly sepia toned. So, not that we're not excited for Batman v Superman. Trust me, we've already got our tickets. We're gonna go see it.
Oh, yes.
Very, very excited for Batman v Superman. So I agree with you because I heard a couple of people kind of, I guess, complaining, griping, whining about them not breaking the fourth wall enough, them not delving deep enough into his insanity and this and that. And I'm like, if you do all that right off the jump, if it's all fourth wall, ha ha ha, and it's all Wade Wilson's a nut bar, you have nothing to build towards
Yes.
for the ones coming up. There's going to be a Deadpool 2. They might even be able to afford a third X-Man for it. Um, it just I, I when I heard people talking about some of that stuff, it frustrated me a lot because it's an amazing movie, and not because it's not Citizen Kane. Okay, it's not. But
It doesn't try to be, though.
it doesn't try to be. It's self aware of what it is, and Ryan Reynolds and Tim Miller, they told the story they wanted to tell.
Yes.
And the story they wanted to tell is approaching $600 million on a $60 million budget. So
What?
who are we out here in Funland to talk crap on this movie?
Exactly.
Because it's absolutely amazing. The jokes in it, the self deprecating. Ryan Reynolds makes three or four jokes about himself
Yes.
throughout within the movie. Um, and then the insults. Whoever wrote their insults is a miracle worker because they're some of the
Fantastic.
most depraved yet brilliant, uh, witty comebacks and retorts that I've heard in a movie.
Yes.
Uh,
I will go out on a limb here and say that I'm willing to bet that a number of them were straight ad libs or straight from Ryan Reynolds. If you've
that would make
watched
a
his
lot of
movies in
sense.
the past,
Oh
he
yeah,
is so good at just these really snappy, like amalgamations of different words
oh stuff
tied
that makes no
together.
sense getting
Yeah.
shoved together.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's always fantastic because of his delivery.
Oh yeah,
I mean, Waiting was just like that.
yeah.
So,
Waiting when he was in Blade
yes,
2 or
Blade 2.
3 or
Yeah.
whichever Blade he was in. I think he's in the third one
Which, by
actually.
the way, I just want to make mention this episode is going to be packed with spoilers, and I'm okay with that because here's the deal, folks. If you haven't gone and seen this movie already, you're a bad fan. You're a bad geek. So, yeah.
Yep. I'm gonna wag my finger at you
You made
for not
a
having seen Deadpool yet.
you made a
Honestly, you know
comment
what? I'm gonna wag my finger at you if you haven't seen it twice at this point because it's that good.
you made a comment about the movie being self-aware, and I think that's a really, really good way to describe one of the best aspects of Deadpool. There have been a lot of geek movies released lately that they've been trying too hard to be something, if that makes sense. Like, and
Elaborate on that.
well, I don't want to take anything away from movies that I enjoy, but the Star Trek reboots.
Eh,
Let's
yeah.
face it, Star Trek as a series was an incredibly like socially aware show during its time. It took social issues.
First interracial kiss on television.
Yeah, like it literally took social issues from the 70s and it turned them into sci-fi stories.
Yep.
And they did a really good job of tackling them. And it was an incredibly deep, well written show. Gene Roddenberry was a genius. The
Right.
reboots, on the other hand, are just literally just a like the fact. My best way of describing it is the trailer with the Beastie Boys song in it.
With
Just
sabotage in it.
with sabotage in it, just totally set the tone for exactly everything you were to expect from these movies. Don't
Explosions.
expect introspection. Don't
Yeah.
expect depth. It's going to be lots and lots of solar flare.
JJ
Crazy,
cut down on that. And JJ's
crazy.
not even a JJ's just an exec producer now. He's off
Yes, and
making
he
Star Wars
apologized for
$200
it.
billion
But
or
nonetheless,
whatever it is.
crazy amounts of solar flare, lots and lots of crazy action. They're going to appeal to the teen fan base with the writing. It's meant to be the bubblegum pop action of sci-fi movies, and that's okay.
It almost feels like Star Trek, a Michael Bay production. Because it's explosion here, lens flare here, hot chick taking a shirt off in lingerie over here,
Yes.
hot green
Long
painted
camera shot
alien.
here. Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah,
it's all these different things all combined into one, and it's sort of like a jack of all trades, but it's
yeah,
really a master of none. None of those things does
yeah,
it do really well. And so it comes off as being very adolescent, like unsure of itself, not fully developed as a concept. And Deadpool walks in the door like looking like the awkward, face fried, teenager who does not give two whats. Like, is
right.
fully aware of what it is and what it intends to be, and it's right in your face from the very get go. And that's one of the things that makes it so good. The opening credits set that tone while
Oh
everything
yeah,
is comical and intended to be. It's so, like you said, it's so self-aware of what it's trying to be. And it does a very good job of not deviating from that. And I think the writing was incredibly well done. And yes, I mean, if you want to get movie snobby, yes, it's a very generic, boy saves girl plot, good versus
it's a
evil.
revenge story with
Yes.
a back plot of boy saves girl.
Yeah. And so,
Fine.
c'est la vie. But
Yeah,
you could apply that really generic, landscape to so many movies that are really phenomenal
yeah.
stories.
Ant-Man is just a heist movie with a guy that does this. But guess what? It worked. It was great. It was funny.
That's, yeah.
I mean,
Don't,
every movie, very rarely anymore does a movie is a movie completely original. You know what I
yes.
mean? It's
Yeah.
it's pretty hard to accomplish that feat nowadays.
And let's face it, if there's any genre out there at all that's had a chance to like explore more stories and then get stuck in the position of look, we've covered everything, it's comics.
It's
Like
getting there.
there are more series, there are more storylines, there are more writers. Heck, comics is one of the few art forms where you have had tens, dozens of writers take on a particular storyline or set of characters and write their own, you know what I mean? TMNT and Batman, and there have been so many people who have guest written issues and things like that. So you're going to eventually cover some of the same content. So being
Yep.
really confident in the material you are covering, whether or not like the base of it is cliche or not, doesn't really matter. If you can present it well and sell it so good as content, none of the rest of that matters. When I sat down to watch Deadpool, I never thought about any of the typical movie archetypes or any of that stuff. I was looking at a smart-ass wisecracking dude who had nothing to lose, kicking ass and making you laugh the entire time. And yes, were there dick and fart jokes strewn throughout the thing? Absolutely.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I think they were just well placed enough to break up some of the more serious humor and craziness that it just works.
And there were a few jokes here or there that fell a little flat. Um,
Yeah.
like when he has his face shut down, sweet Corinthian leather.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. A Ricardo Montalban joke, fine, whatever. But I liked that in the chase scene. For 1 second, you hear the 1960s, the Batman '66 theme song for a split second on the radio.
Yeah.
I liked the Ryan Reynolds "Sexiest Man Alive"
Live
cover
issue
floating through the
flying
car.
through the car. Yeah.
I liked the Rob L. coffee cup as a reference to Rob Liefeld, who created the character. So, I mean, basically, we can kind of walk through the movie, I guess, a little bit here and talk about what happens. because it starts out with Mr. Poole in a cab getting picked up and heading down the street and then hanging out on a bridge and then dropping in on the guys. And if you saw the test footage that was leaked, Ryan Reynolds says he's 70% sure that he didn't leak the test footage a few years ago. It's very similar to what that test footage was, with some stuff mixed in.
Yeah.
And what I liked is as it went through, it kind of went back and forth. Wade meets Vanessa. They had this cute little rapport of,
The
my
montage
life's.
was one of my favorite things.
The montage was really funny. The
Yes.
sex montage was really funny, but I really liked the my life sucked. Oh, your life sucked. This is how hard my life sucked. Oh,
I
back
had
when
it
I was,
bad. I had it worse.
yeah, my uncle molested me. Both of my uncles molested me. They took
Yes.
turns. We lit in my bedroom. Oh, you had a bed,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So that was really good. The self-referential jokes, the little Deadpool doll, and then they fall in love with each other. He proposes, and then they find out he has cancer basically everywhere. Um, I don't remember what it is, like brain, heart, lungs,
Yep.
kidneys, prostate, I think is what it is. And of course, he makes a wisecrack that I can live without all that. Um, but what I think was real interesting about all of it was how much of the movie I honestly didn't it didn't register to me about how much of this movie was actually going to be a love story versus a wisecracking action comedy. The marketing they did with the Nicholas Sparks style billboards and stuff to lead into it, the
Genius.
Notebook style bookboard billboards and stuff. Honestly, I feel like they weren't that far off base.
Yeah.
It was a
While campy and sarcastic, they
and
really
and
did
filthy
convey.
and truly filthy, but you could tell that they loved each other. You could
Right.
tell that they truly cared about each other. Wade loved Vanessa, and Vanessa loved Wade. Though Wade was a little superficial, not trying to get back in touch with her after because he's afraid she's not
Yeah,
going
she wasn't
because
going to accept him.
he looks like a scrotum now. But so
Like the
Wade
inside of
signs
other
up
people's buttholes.
basically,
Ah, gotcha. Like
an old
Freddy Krueger face humped a topographical map of Utah.
yeah, looked like an avocado, had sex with an older avocado. Yeah. Uh, that's some of the stuff that was in it, folks. Um, and then so he signs up for a program, which in the comics is a base program of Weapon X, but a creepy pedophile looking Agent Smith from the Matrix type guy says, "Hey, we can turn you into a superhero. Just hey, here's my card." He does decide to do it, and then the movie kind of starts to pick up from there. There's a guy in there by the name of Ajax or Francis, depending on once Wade finds his name out. You have Gina Carano in there.
Woohoo!
Francis.
Francis.
Gina Carano plays Angel Dust. She's the quiet, silent, match chewing, whatever. I guess the hired muscle. I guess I
And
don't know.
she is BA and really beefed for the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, really beefed, if you're familiar with Gina Carano.
But I think one of the things, and I keep going off on tangents here as I'm trying to talk about the movie, and I feel bad about that. But I really liked how they played Colossus in the movie.
Me too. And we talked
I
about
liked
this.
I liked that he was Deadpool's
Perfect
moral. He was
Boy
Deadpool's
Scout.
moral censor. He was his
Yes.
pull him back to reality, pull him back to off the ledge, and kind of keep him from going that one step that's a little too far.
Yeah.
You can tell Colossus is like, I've been trying to get him into the X-Men. He's he speaks with the real Russian accent now. He's like 8 feet tall and blah 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 blah. The scene where Deadpool attacks him on the bridge and he breaks both his hands and one of his
Oh,
ankles
my
was hilarious.
God.
I really liked the girl in the movie also.
Who played
Um,
Negasonic Teenage Warhead?
yeah, Negasonic
Yes.
Teenage Warhead. Um, that was funny. That was funny stuff. It was a perfect encapsulation of like a 17, 18-year-old
And
girl.
she did it really,
Uh,
really well. Yes.
just, just either pithy remark or sarcastic or just sullen silence or
Yes.
just it all fit. It was great. Um, and walking through it, it like I said, it's just deal after deal after deal, and he's trying to hunt down Francis because Francis, the whole deal is they try to stimulate a mutation to
Torture.
uh by torture, putting the
Yep.
body through extreme stress, which I don't know what you thought. I thought that was a really nice I thought that was a really nice pseudo-scientific way to talk about how they about
Oh, getting the cells to
mutations.
mutate?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought
absolutely.
that was a nice touch.
Yeah.
Um, so, then for a full year, Deadpool is trying to chase down Francis slash Ajax to get him to fix his effed up face so he can be man pretty again. Um, and then it just, then Francis figures out who it is. He captures Vanessa, and then it kind of rolls into the I gotta save my girlfriend plot.
And if you lack enough geek cred to understand or know before even seeing the movie what Deadpool's deal is, the Weapon X program is a off-book shadow experimental program for creating super soldiers by bringing out latent abilities in people by causing their cells to mutate and bring out whatever the under the surface hidden biological superpower is, and it affects everyone differently. And in the case of Deadpool, he gets regenerative powers. While his body looks physically destroyed to a point of complete repulsion, he becomes essentially invulnerable and
Can regrow
yes,
limbs. There's a
regenerative.
great bit about him having a baby hand
I
after,
bet it feels huge in this hand.
yeah,
Yeah,
about him having a baby hand after he chops off his own hand to get away from Colossus.
which is an amazing, amazing scene. The entire scene on the bridge is just
Yeah,
fantastic because not
yeah,
only is it packed with great action that's extremely well filmed, but bringing Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead NSW as I will or NTW as I will call her from now on,
okay,
as they come to see him on the bridge, to collect him and take him home as Colossus
yeah.
wants to.
Take him to the professor.
Yes,
Which one, McAvoy or Stewart?
these timelines are so confusing.
Yeah,
So that entire scene is incredibly well done because it packs so much content. It's really well done, and if you think about it, it's like this micro encapsulated mini movie in its own right because it goes through, obviously the revenge seeking, the emotional pain and torment of a lost love. It goes through, obviously Deadpool's being so driven, okay, that in his desire to bring Francis slash Ajax to justice, if you want to call it that, or
yeah,
bring him down. That he literally he's so driven he's driven to the point of self-destruction, and that's obviously symbolized there with his messing himself up on Colossus. So
yeah.
it's a really good circle that brings around what this guy is experiencing and going through to set the stage for where we're going to go with the movie. And I agree with you 100%. I think whoever, and I don't know who played Colossus.
They said it was five guys.
Wow.
It took five guys to play Colossus between all the
Whoever did
CG and
the
everything.
voice for it, and how the character was actually written was just fantastic. And that's so
Yeah,
funny that a character who was a subplot to the entire thing became so integral to Deadpool. I honestly think you hit the nail on the head when you said his conscience. I don't think the movie would have been as impactful without Colossus there to counterbalance him
yeah. He
and give
was
him
dead.
brevity,
He was his Jiminy Cricket,
Exactly.
and that was what was so great about it. And what was nice, it was nice to see them take Colossus, who a lot of fans really like, and turn him actually into Colossus.
Yes.
No offense, all previous X-Men movies that have ever existed. But Colossus had always been a big hulking dude
Yeah.
with a Russian accent. He was not a pretty boy, 26-year-old guy that's about 6'4"
Yeah.
that turned into metal. I
Yeah.
mean, it just,
Yeah, and I agree with that.
you
Previous
know,
depictions have all done the whole like
I mean, I liked the guy that played him,
freshly
but just
waxed WWE style representation
CW.
of Colossus.
It was a
You know,
CW TV, a CW
Exactly.
kid. Yeah,
CW meets John Cena,
yeah,
just
yeah,
hyper waxed up, pretty boy. And they took Colossus and they made him what he was always intended to be, which is a giant
yeah,
metal superhero,
yeah. Flat topped
comic
Russian.
book character.
Yeah, yeah, a comic book character. And one of what's actually interesting is something I heard is because I'll admit I've read some Deadpool, but not a ton. One of the things I heard is the reason that he looks the way he does is because they didn't eliminate his cancer. It's that his body regenerates fast enough that it's constantly fighting his cancer. So he still has cancer. He's constantly has cancer. It's just that his body's constantly fighting back against it, and
Interesting.
that's why he looks all jacked up. So, take that for what it's worth. So obviously we both loved Deadpool.
Yes.
I loved the cab driver in it.
Yes. The
That was a nice
relationship
little.
between them.
Yeah, I can't remember the name. I want to say Mopinder or something like that. I hope that's what
I
it
believe, yeah,
was.
something like that.
I loved that he had it saved as Mr. Pool in
I
his
was just gonna
phone
say Mr. Poole was his name
with
in the
the
phone.
little Deadpool logo.
Yes.
Wade had time to fab up that logo. Wade had time to fab up his own logo to share to to share to his favorite taxi driver.
And
Uh,
that's another. I will say, take the amazing story, the great action, the incredible writing. One of my favorite aspects of the movie is how many Easter eggs and one like little hidden gems, nuggets of awesomeness. Okay, that
yeah,
correlate to other movies, other storylines. There's been this big debate, and I know the director had to come out and make a very public statement to avoid getting into deep doo doo over with Marvel. But the battle that takes place on the
about that.
helicarrier.
Yeah, on
Okay,
the
so
helicarrier
it
at
is
the
so
end.
blatantly obvious that that's like the base origins of the helicarrier in design, shape, and everything else.
Oh yeah.
But they're not allowed to insinuate or say that it's the helicarrier because of the whole Fox and Marvel thing. So
Yep.
while it's fantastic that you get to see that, it's that little nugget because the last time we saw that was in Captain America and Captain Two. So or Cap 2, with the Battle
Winter
of Winter
Soldier.
Soldier. Yeah. So it's cool to get to see these little things that correlate and tie across it. And Deadpool is packed with so many Easter eggs. And I know almost all of the Marvel movies
Well,
are, but I've
the other
never
one that
seen
they
as many of them, been able to identify them as easily as I did in Deadpool.
the other one that they were on the border of is Bob from Jacksonville.
Bob, yes, the hidden
Is
character.
I believe he's a Hydra agent. So yeah, I believe he's a Hydra agent.
Yes.
And so he was technically off limits because Hydra is still owned by Marvel, but they still
Yes.
worked it in anyway.
Which
So
was
that
great.
those kind of the middle fingers to Marvel were pretty nice. I actually enjoyed those quite a bit. So we both obviously enjoyed Deadpool.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it yet, like I
Go
said,
see
shame
it
on you.
now.
You got to go see it. Um, and go see it with friend. Go see it with a friend or a group of people because
Yeah.
it's that much more fun and that much more funny to see it with a group. It's definitely a group watching movie.
Most
Um,
definitely.
so the next big thing coming from Marvel, which I know Deadpool's not technically from Marvel, but it's a Marvel character. Trailer dropped this afternoon for the final trailer dropped this afternoon for
For
Captain
Civil War.
America Civil War.
Oh my
And if
god.
you want to see it, you can check it out at geek.0.com.
Yes.
But the final trailer for Captain America Civil War dropped, and by golly, we finally got to see Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Um,
Actually, we got to see this trailer is the first one that's let us in on a few characters that haven't been shown. I saw Ant-Man for the first time in the Civil War trailer.
I shot a Black
Spidey.
Panther.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, what did you think of Spider-Man?
I hope that the compression of YouTube made his costume look worse than it will on the big screen.
I'm really worried
That's
that he's
what
going to
I'm
be
hoping.
CG.
But here's the thing. I don't know. I honestly, oh, they found you. Sounds like they found
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Um, I guess I see a little bit of the complaint. It did look a bit flat. It looked a bit cartoonish,
That
but I
was my
really feel
issue.
like
It looks too
I
CG, too cartoonish when you're doing a movie that's predominantly live action characters, minus a few
yeah,
action scenes where you have to simulate things. That one just stood out as being like
it did a
so
little bit.
cartoony and CG.
But on that same
But it
token
was like
though,
3 seconds.
that's the thing. I trust Marvel to do it right because they haven't, outside of like maybe Thor: The Dark World, they haven't really done anything wrong yet. And even Thor: The Dark World, while it isn't exactly the best comic book movie that's ever existed, it ain't Batman and Robin either. So let's
Right.
not act like Marvel has dropped the ball completely on anything. Even Agents of Shield is getting better. Uh,
Yes.
so um, I definitely want to see what it's going to look like in the movie before I can make a final call on it. But I agree with you. It just felt, I don't know, and I'm sure it was a CG shot, but it felt, because it did feel a little painted on. I loved the design of the
Unfinished.
costume. It did look a little unfinished. I loved the design of the costume. I loved the mechanical, because you can hear the whirring. I loved the fact that the eyes can open and close on the lenses can open and close on the suit, because if you watch it close,
I didn't
his
not
eyes
watch that.
his
Yeah.
eyes tighten up. So I don't know how that works as far as, is it mind controlled, or is it something to do with is it connected to his facial muscles? I'm sure Stark had something to do with it, and that's why it's connected to him. But the fact that they're going to be able to get expression out of Spider-Man's eyes, and if you look close at a picture, you can see that it looks like it's kind of hard to explain. But it looks like the black looks like it's layered, so that way it almost works like a camera lens or an aperture to
I'll have to go back and watch
open
that
up or
part of it
down.
better.
Yeah, go back and watch that little. You may have to check that little bit out, but it was a great trailer. It really was. It made me even more excited for the movie than I already was. Kind
Yeah.
of like the Batman v Superman final trailer. So,
If you guys
uh,
haven't heard any of the buzz surrounding Civil War, and this trailer was the actually the second one was the first one to really get into this. The second one was really really dramatic, and I
mhm,
loved it. I mean, super dark, far more than all the Avengers movies put together so far.
mhm.
Anthony Mackie, who plays Hawk,
Falcon.
Falcon. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
He did an interview, and I don't remember with who. I'm trying to think of who he did the interview with, but he basically said that this is absolutely the best Marvel movie to date, quite possibly the best superhero movie to date. And to
That's a pretty big bold statement considering
it is,
The Dark Knight and stuff like
but
that.
there have been a lot of great superhero movies, and I know that there's been a lot of hype around them. But one thing I've never heard anyone say, and it's a big statement to make before a movie comes out, I've never actually heard a director, a producer, an actor come out and say, this is the best superhero movie to date. So it gives you a little bit of a glimpse of what they feel about the finished product. And he actually said that it's probably the best, not only is it probably the best superhero movie to date, but it's a potential best picture candidate. And when you see the actual second trailer and the emotion that's in it and like how like serious the tone is, and then you get this final trailer that kind of broad the it pans a bit out from that, to show a little bit more of the surrounding story, this inner conflict between Tony and Cap. Oh god, it just sucks you in. I so want to see this movie now because I see so
Hmm.
much potential for where they can take this. And what's great about it is none of these guys are bad guys. Like, these are great characters who are
They
put in
they both.
impossible situation because of, the
Mhm.
world that they have to do what they do in. I'm
Well,
truly excited about it.
they both have a valid point to their side of the argument.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
Steve's like, for us to continue to do what we do, and for heroes to be and their loved ones to be safe, we have to stay anonymous. And on Tony's side of the argument is we have to be able to be held accountable for our actions, or we're no different than the guys we're fighting.
Right.
And they're both right. They are both right. So it's a very which side of the coin do you land on? I probably land a little more, from a movie standpoint, I lean more on Captain America's
Cap.
side. But if that was happening in real life,
Tony's spot
I
on,
feel
man.
like I'd probably land more on Stark's side. Because when you have these monolithic characters, you know, toppling buildings and, alien attacks and whole countries lifting out of the ground and, all this stuff going on, you know, obviously people are going to want accountability to that in the real world.
And
But on
that's
the
a.
sec,
Oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you. Second.
On If they would just kill Tony Stark, they'd quit having all these problems.
Indeed, they would.
I mean, am I nuts here? It
No,
seems
I
like
was.
every major issue they have
I was just gonna say that
is his fault.
one of the reasons that this is even an issue is that the accountability that Tony comes is pushing comes from guilt. So
Absolutely.
okay, so
Absolutely.
the entire creation of Iron Man is based in his deep-seated guilt for what he and his family has represented for generations. And
Yeah.
so the guy was a warmonger. He made billions and trillions of dollars on, creating tools of death. And so all of a sudden this Iron Man character came about because of his intense burning deep down guilt for literally all the death on the planet he's responsible for. So
Yeah.
he wanted some accountability to the entire planet at that point. So he
Right.
pushes this issue way harder, okay? Because of his own personal issues. And if you look
Well,
at a
and
lot of the
then
battles that he has with Cap, even in the previous movies,
yeah.
Tony, he's a well-rounded character. He's a character who's so easy to see why you should hate him, but you
But he's just
can't
too
stop
but he's so
loving
charming.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like this idea that he feels there needs to be transparency and accountability for them also comes in part not just from his guilt and his need to try to do right now, but Tony by nature is somebody who likes to be in the public eye and in front of the
Right.
camera anyway. So it's a
Right.
double-edged sword. Tony, here's a guy who loves nothing more than someone to take his photo and tell him how fantastic he is, right? But he realizes there has to be the other side to that coin too. That someone needs to also be able to take my picture and go, "You're responsible for this." And
Yep.
so but the core of that, and just like you said, if you just kill Tony, Tony's ego is the big issue at play here in so many cases.
Well, in the first Avengers, it's his self-sustaining building that has the power source to create the rift in time. In the second Avengers movie, he creates Ultron and plays around. I don't even know. Well,
Despite many,
with
many
the
warnings from
stone.
everyone around him.
Yeah, he plays with the Loki pokey stick. He plays with it seems like everything Tony does, while well intentioned,
Leads
ends
to
up
something
blowing up.
bad.
It blows up in his face
Yeah.
and causes all these issues for the Avengers. I mean, yeah, Thor brought Loki here, but initially, but them playing with the Tesseract and all that, Shield brought a lot of it on themselves too, or I guess
Yeah.
Hydra, Shieldra, kind of brought it all to a forefront as well. But a lot of these issues happen because of Tony, and I'm sure, like you said, a lot of his opinion comes from the guilt that he's formed over that.
Yeah.
So
And Tony and not to go too deep into all of the Marvel movies, but Tony's Tony's ego, the thing that strikes about that is that he is so many times quite literally the smartest guy in the room.
Oh yeah.
He is in most cases, and it sucks because he is, and that is such a great power to have, and he squanders it with his egotistical, self-righteous
His
attitude.
pursuits. Yeah.
Yeah, and his pursuits to prove he's the smartest guy in the room,
Yeah.
and his insistence to always be right. And
Hmm.
so, like I said, he's got this character who's conflicted. And just as you mentioned, here you take this guy who knows he's on to something, but he's so desperate to prove it, he pushes the bar just a little bit further. Touching
Yep.
the Loki stick,
He
building
turns he
Ultron,
turns the
even
amp
though he
he turns the
knows.
amp to 11 instead of the
Yes.
10.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
That's what it does.
it's really going to be interesting to see how this takes shape in this movie now, because now, and Tony says it right in the movie. He says, you just started a war,
Yeah.
and once again, so many of the things that Tony says in all the movies are, all of those statements can be directed right back at him.
What else is interesting is that even though it's Captain America Civil War and they keep swearing up and down that it's Cap's film, it sure seems like Tony is the driving force of the trailers.
I think a
You know what I
large
mean?
portion of that is also though because Tony is the perfect counterbalance to Cap.
Right.
Cap is virtue and justice and right for
Language.
humankind. He is
Yeah.
100% straight moral apple pie baseball American, go get 'em, quality, do the right thing. Whereas
Which is
Tony,
interesting that you say that because that's one of the things Tony says in the trailer is I had you wrong. Everybody has you
yes, yes,
wrong.
I saw that.
Basically,
We were wrong
you're
all along.
you're full of it and you just want to be able to do whatever you want to do because you have the power to do so.
Yeah.
Which was a nice little dig at him.
Which
He
gives
he's
you a
not
little insight into what
yeah.
may be going on there.
Yeah,
But
he's not apple pie and perfect teeth.
but the depiction of him has always been,
Yeah,
apple
absolutely.
pie,
Yeah.
baseball, and Sunday afternoon dinners.
Yeah.
And then Tony, on the other hand, is drunken debauchery and women and fast cars
Yeah.
and self-serving interests.
Hmm.
And his morally ambiguous compass is way off the mark constantly. But ultimately, they both want to do the same thing, which is protect the world from itself and
I
other
want to save the
threats.
world.
So I think having Tony as a major counterpoint in all the trailers, when it is Cap's movie, I think that's because that's where the struggle will always be. Is it's going to
Right.
show that two people of such completely different backgrounds and ideals can still be shooting for the same thing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this has been grinding away for so long that in this movie, it's gonna end up being a war between two truly good guys, and the
Well, you
trailer shows
start
the
seeing
scope
it
of
at
it.
the log splitting scene in Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
That's kind of where you first start seeing the chip away
Yep.
between their relationship. So, it's going to be real interesting to see. I'm definitely excited for it even more. I was excited for it. That last trailer made it to where I cannot wait to see this movie.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited about this movie, so it cannot get here fast enough.
In due
But
time. BVS
those were the
first.
BVS is first. That's 2 weeks, just about.
Sweet.
And for those of you that that have not been to our website, check out geek.0.com. We're actually counting down 21 facts, one fact a day until the premiere of Batman v Superman. And we'll definitely be coming to you with our our reaction and thoughts of the film in a couple weeks. We still got to figure out what we're going to talk about next week. We'll definitely find something. But you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/geek.0. You do have to spell out point, Point. Follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/geek.0. And we're actually on Instagram now, too. So at geek.0 on Instagram. Check us out at geek.0.com. If you guys have some thoughts or comments Just hit us up right down there. Let us know what you think. I'm sure most of you will probably think that we suck because it's YouTube and everything on YouTube sucks. So just hit us up. Let us know what you think. So for Geek.0, I'm Chris.
And I'm Shawn Michael.
Have a great day.